The NBA has seen its fair share of villains throughout the years. I mean, Dennis Rodman was the villain in the 90s, Ron Artest was the villain in the 2000s, then in the 2010s, I guess Lance Stevenson was one of the villains. But whether or not it was just the times changing or whether it was Adam Silver taking over as the commissioner, the NBA just got a bit more, friendly. Everybody became best friends, and instead of jawing at each other and getting in each other's faces, they were hugging it out after games. Recently, however, one Memphis Grizzlies player has decided to turn back the hands of time and bring back a little of the good old times. That man is Dillon Dynasty Brooks, and as of today, he's the most hated player in the NBA. You know, if there's one thing that can get a player hated on the hardwood floor, it's flopping. As hilarious as it can be to fans, hoopers despise floppers, probably because it's as close to cheating as it gets. And it just so happens that Dillon Brooks might just have one of the worst flops in basketball history. You see, back in college when he was still part of the Oregon Fighting Ducks, one day they were up against Utah, and in the second half of the match, one of the most egregious things I've ever seen on a basketball court happened. Here's Brooks just inside the perimeter defending his man. Well, as number 2 started making his way towards the basket, this Oscars-worthy performance took place. What the heck was that? Oh my goodness, guys. Let me show you that from a different angle. Man, even as of now, I'm still crying tears over that. Anyway, just for a bit of background on him, Dillon Brooks was drafted by the Houston Rockets back in 2017 in the second round, but was immediately traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. In his NBA debut, he scored 19 points, which is actually the most by any Canadian-born player. Later that season, Brooks was thought to be involved in a three-way trade involving the Grizzlies, Wizards, and Suns, but the trade failed because of confusion. Memphis wanted to trade for Marshawn Brooks, not Dillon Brooks, which is who the other teams wanted, and because of that, the trade didn't go through. Anyway, the year after, Brooks suffered a ruptured ligament in his right big toe, and as a result, only played 18 games that season. The following year after that was when the Grizzlies drafted Ja Morant. For the first half of that season, Dillon Brooks averaged 16.1 points while shooting 39.9% from three-point range, which isn't too shabby, and for the first time in a few seasons, the Grizzlies were in the playoff picture. At that point in time, they were 25-25, good enough for the 8th in the West, and it was there and then that Memphis's front office decided to sign Brooks to a 3-year, $35 million extension. Known as a tough and rough defender, Brooks was capable of playing D and was an offensive threat. Well, apparently that wasn't enough for the guard out of Oregon, so he started his apprenticeship under Senator Sheev Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious. And it was from there that Brooks learned how to become a psychological threat as well. And that's when it started to happen. He slowly started becoming one of the most hated players in the NBA, and here's what I mean. I'm going to start off with Mike Conley, who's widely known as one of the nicest guys in the entire NBA. I mean, he's won multiple NBA sportsmanship awards, he's won the Teammate of the Year award, and if you did a YouTube search, you'll find 0 altercations of Conley with other players over the course of his 16-year career. Then on top of that, he was Brooks' vet for 2 seasons in Memphis before getting traded to Utah. But yet, that didn't stop Brooks from attacking him when he's on the ground, stepping over him, and even getting him heated in games. Conley, like the scholar he is, didn't have any bad words for Brooks and just said that he plays with quote-unquote passion. But this next guy doesn't think so. You see, Donovan Mitchell may have scored 71 points in a single game this season, but he also got sacked down low by Dillon Brooks. Ouch. While Brooks may say it was an accident, a closer look shows that Brooks knew exactly where he was swinging his arms, and he was suspended 1 game for which it cost him exactly $78,621. Sheesh, guys. That one swing cost Dillon Brooks more money than some UFC fighters make per fight. Anyway, here's what Donovan Mitchell thought of it.
Did you feel that Dillon cheap shotted you?
Yeah, for sure. That's just who he is. You know, we've seen it a bunch. It's tough when you can't guard somebody and can't do something with somebody. You got to resort to that, and that's what he's done to a lot of players. You know, I off the top of my head, I think it's like Dame and Steph.
Anyway, since he mentioned Dame time, let's see what happened between Brooks and Lillard. Well, the truth is, these two had many battles over the years, but on this one particular play, Dame got by him like it was cone practice, but as you can see, Brooks got him with a little something after he went past him, and Lillard didn't like that at all. Moments later, you can actually see the hatred Lillard had for Brooks as he turned around to voice some words. Anyway, I want to move on to Steph now. Honestly, there's like 1,000 reasons why Steph hates him. I mean, Brooks always gets in his face the moment he gets a bucket on him. He gets into his face when he blocks him. You know, while this is all just competitive trash talking and makes for great entertainment, one time Brooks actually almost injured the two-time MVP. Yeah, in the 2022 playoffs, Brooks full-on shoved Curry to the ground, which could have actually caused an injury. That's when the line was crossed, and that's also when Klay Thompson entered the picture. Again, just like Mike Conley, Klay's one of the most beloved players in the league, and ever since that incident, he's had Klay hating him as well. Anyway, not too long after that, in an ESPN interview, Brooks went on to say that he quote-unquote doesn't like Draymond, doesn't like Golden State, and he also said a whole bunch of other stuff too. Funny enough, however, years ago, when he was still playing in college basketball, he actually said this.
You know, I want to be like Draymond Green for this team. I want to be like Draymond Green for this team. I want to be like Draymond Green for this team.
Anyway, wouldn't it be hilarious if in a few years, Brooks and Draymond become best friends? Sort of how Draymond and LeBron were going at each other in the finals before, but then suddenly became like BFFs out of nowhere. Anyway, Dub Nation pretty much hates Brooks for his reckless attack on Gary Payton II in the 2022 playoffs, and let's see, who else hates Brooks? Oh, Shannon Sharp. Sheesh, guys. This is one that I didn't see coming at all, but Brooks also got into it with a media personality at a Lakers game in LA. Then in an interview afterwards, he called the former NFL champ a pedestrian. It didn't stop for Brooks there either, because not too long after that, Dylan Brooks went full-on Dennis Rodman mode and even attacked a cameraman who was just doing his job. I mean, look at that shove. Trash-talking players is within the lines of basketball, but doing something like this is pretty low. But anyway, back to NBA players. Dylan Brooks also got into it with James Harden, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Anthony Edwards. My goodness, guys. I apologized if I missed some players, and the truth is, if I actually went into each and every altercation this guy has gotten into in the past year alone, this video would be like an hour long or something. But I'd probably say the most hilarious form of hate he got was at the hands of Kyrie Irving. You see, Brooks had some words for Kyrie before their matchup. On a game where Luka wasn't going to play because of injuries, Brooks said this: "I hope Luka gets back for the next game so I can guard him. It goes to show that sometimes they ain't ready to come back to a physical game." Then he followed this statement up with this: "Now I can get Irving by myself today, so I want to see what he's all about. He had a couple of words for me in Brooklyn, so I can't wait to pick him up full every time and see him get exhausted." Well, the Grizzlies didn't end up winning that matchup against Kyrie and the Mavericks, but after the game, I don't know what happened, but they were going to do a jersey swap, or at least that's what Brooks thought. So after he takes off his jersey, he accepts Kyrie's jersey, they shake hands, then Kyrie completely just walks away and leaves Dylan Brooks there hanging on national television. Ouch, guys. That's arguably one of the most embarrassing things that can happen to a player. And if you want to know what Draymond had to say in response to that, here's exactly how he responded on his podcast. Anyway, within the last year or 2 years or so, Dylan Dynasty Brooks has literally gotten into an altercation with like half the All-Star team. And you know what? He's not finished yet, because the dynasty has just begun, and he's only entering his prime. I wonder who's next on his list. Trae Young, SGA, maybe Giannis. You know, I actually love the trash talk and everything, and honestly, I think it makes the NBA a lot more entertaining. I don't think he's particularly a bad dude or anything, but I think Kyrie said it best when he said, "There's been a lot going on with him, seeing him in the middle of all the Draymond stuff. I mean, it makes it great for our league, but at the same time, there's a maturity that we've got to have. Nothing should go over the line of personal stuff. If we keep it strictly on the floor, I think we all have a greater time, but once it gets personal, I mean, you know what it turns into out there.